Hey guys, coming at you live from New York City. I had to check out the chess forum. When I went here, one of my opponents was a 100-year-old man who sat down, introduced himself as the doctor. He started the game with e4, decided to go the French defense here. So I didn't quite get his name. He was firm on. I mean, he told everyone. I heard him introduce himself to other players. He always said the doctor. Doctor Who, eventually elaborated. So I'm not sure what his name is, but 100 years old, still playing chess, and obviously with this much passion is remarkable, really admirable. So I definitely hope that's me one day. We see his opening here with b3 and then d3. A little bit shocking, a lot of dark square weaknesses, but as long as he plays bishop to b2, he should be okay. But as you'll see from this game, it was far too long that he did not play his bishop out. I think he kind of paid the price on the dark squares here. Apparently my opponent has been around since coming to Washington Square Park in 1956. I mean, to even say something like that is just incredible. I mean, the guy has quite literally had a lifetime full of experiences. I'm curious if there are any locals in New York that frequent the chess forum. Drop a comment below the video. Does anyone know who this guy is, or has anyone spoke to him or played against him? After pawn takes e4, pawn takes e4. That queen d4 idea is very strong here. I think my opponent was better off capturing with the knight. Now queen d4 hits the rook and checkmate in one. And so it's unfortunately a difficult decision that the doctor has to make already early on in this game. But I think he sees what I'm up to. And even though it's not a nice decision, I think he made the right one. Knight h3, covering that checkmate. And although it gives up the rook in the corner, there was truly no avoiding that. I asked my opponent if he still plays in any chess tournaments. I honestly didn't know the answer. I figured if he could still move the pieces, why not? But he gave a wry smile and said that he hasn't played a tournament in 65 years, which is that amount of time is already more than double my lifetime right there. So it's been that long since he competed in chess tournaments, but he does not anymore. Now I'm not worried about my queen getting trapped here. It always has a way out, plus the pawn is hanging as well. So I'm just trying to complete development, get my bishop out, and then look to castle, whichever way is safer. Bishop d3 is a good looking move. That's a good square for that piece to get on. And we decided to play a 10-minute game here. 10 minutes was our compromise. I wanted to use a clock. I've definitely I've had some experiences where I've sat down and played people without a clock, and as much as people like to say, oh yeah, we'll just both move quickly, those games take hours. They truly do. So that's my rule. I don't play unless it's with a clock nowadays. But understandably, my opponent was more used to playing without a clock, so we compromised and went for a 10-minute game. After knight c4, I'm seeing the possibility for that rook to eyeball my queen. I take the knight on h3, pawn takes back very quickly, and I think, you know, I was a little scared of what my 100-year-old opponent could cook up here on the g-file with king h1 and rook g1 and all these pieces aimed towards that side of the board. So I'm not gonna lie, I was a little scared. I decided to castle long here. We still have that extra rook that we've captured on a1, so position is definitely looking pretty solid here. Queen e2 is definitely the right idea, as I mentioned. Wants to move that bishop somewhere, anywhere, to take advantage of the discovered attack on my queen. But I think that the knight jumping into the center of the board here, knight d4, is a strong move because it's difficult to put white's queen anywhere except right back where she came from. And that's never a nice feeling. I was also trying to be mindful to keep pace with my opponent. I didn't want to move too quickly, but of course I gotta manage my time a little bit. So we both had around 6 minutes or so here. Queen e3 looks dangerous, walking into the line, the diagonal that this bishop sits on. But black really only has one move here that's any good. And it is going to be knight captures b3. That's because this move defends the bishop. All other kind of knight moves would drop one piece or another. Queen g5, aggressive and probably one of the better moves. I'm up a rook, so I'm sticking to some principles here and simplifying pieces. The rook is defended by the queen on g5, so I do have to move my queen here. Instead of being greedy for more pawns, I say, look, I'm up a rook here. Let me just bring my queen back to the center of the board and not take any risks. It should be noted that queen takes g7. There are many reasons why this is no good. You know, f2 is hanging, whatnot, but most importantly, rook g8 would immediately pin the queen to the king. Knight e3 to save the pawn on f2. There are still tricks here, you know. If knight takes e4, queen f5 check forks the king and that loose knight on e4, so I still had to be careful. Asking the queen, you know, basically, what are you up to? Trying to get it off that nice square. Now after blocking with the queen, I'm being sort of annoying here because it's so good for me if we trade queens that I know my opponent can't agree to do that. So he takes on e5, but even though I've lost the pawn, My position becomes so much easier to play here as I continue to simplify. And now, with that very exposed white king on g1, I think it's time to start pursuing it. And as we near the end here, I'll always remember the first word. He only said one word after the game. First word out of his mouth when the game ended was rematch. And I just thought it would be quite something if I still have that kind of energy and passion for chess at that age. So it was quite a privilege.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah.
Skillet.